Larry Bird dismantled the NBA's greatest player, humiliated cocky defenders by telling them what he was going to do, then actually doing it.
And he said, I'm going to get it right here. I'm going to shoot it right in your face.
Bird has the basketball. Look out.
And once won a three-point contest without even taking his warm-up jacket off.
For the money. Yo!
Tonight, you'll meet every last one of them. The legendary coach that ducked his former player, the NBA bully who got humiliated on national TV, and the team who couldn't stop Bird, even when he was only using his left hand.
Bird with the left hand, and it stayed.
I'll show you why Larry Bird was the king of trash talk, the greatest shooter the NBA had ever seen, and how he humbled countless Hall of Famers and opponents for disrespecting him. These are the victims of Larry Joe Bird. Larry Bird wasn't supposed to be an NBA legend. And from afar, he certainly didn't look like one. He was just a skinny kid from French Lick, Indiana, a working class town with barely 2,000 people. His dad was a Korean War veteran who struggled to hold down jobs. His mom worked 2 or 3 at a time just to keep the lights on. Bird didn't grow up dreaming about the NBA. He just loved playing basketball and found solace on the court from life's daily struggles. Now, Bird was a great high school player. Sure, he wasn't the fastest, but he could shoot, pass, and most importantly, outthink everyone else on the floor. By the time he was a senior, he averaged 30 points a game and earned a scholarship to Indiana University. It should have been a dream come true, playing for the legendary coach Bob Knight at the biggest school in the state. But Larry Bird hated it. The 30,000 student campus overwhelmed him. The crowds, the big city feel, it wasn't for him. So he dropped out after just 24 days and moved back home to French Lick, where he quit basketball and instead worked as a garbage truck driver. Most people thought his basketball career was over, and it probably was. Until a desperate assistant coach from Indiana State named Bill Hodges showed up at his house. Hodges, along with Bird's high school coach, were able to convince him to give college one more shot, this time at a smaller state school. And what happened next was pure madness. In his very first college season, Bird averaged 33 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block per game on 54% shooting. He took a mediocre state college that no one cared about, from 13-12 in 1975, and improved them to 25-3 in a stronger conference. As a junior, he got even better and more efficient, 30 points and 12 rebounds, and a spot on the consensus All-American team. Indiana State finished second in their conference. Then came his senior year, 29 points, 15 rebounds, nearly 6 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. The Naismith, the Wooden, the AP, he led Indiana State to a perfect 33-0 season, and a spot in the national title game against Magic Johnson and Michigan State. We'll get to that result later, but Indiana University and Coach Bob Knight, they never scheduled a game against Bird. Despite the pressure from media, players, and fans across the state for 3 years, Bob Knight, the same coach who recruited Bird initially, didn't want the smoke. He was terrified. Years later, Bird said, quote, "We would have beat him." So the first real victim of Larry Bird's wasn't some unsuspecting high schooler or college player, though there were plenty. It was the legendary coach that recruited him, lost him, and then ran from him like the plague, once he realized that Larry Bird was playing for the other team. Now, by the time Bird became available for the NBA draft his junior year, he wasn't just some college basketball player. He was a national phenomenon. The Celtics knew it too. They drafted him 6th overall in 1978, knowing he was going back to college basketball for his senior season. Then in 1979, Bird refused to sign with the Celtics and made them sweat until they wrote up the largest rookie contract in NBA history. So Boston got their guy, and Bird got his due. RIP to the Celtics bank account for a brief moment. But around the same time, a tall point guard out of Michigan State entered the league too, and their rivalry was already burning red hot. The two biggest stars in college basketball history had just lit up the 1979 NCAA championship game, Magic Johnson's Michigan State versus Larry Bird's undefeated Indiana State. It was the most watched college basketball game ever, and it ended with Bird taking the loss. Larry hated it. So when both players entered the NBA that same year, Magic to the Lakers and Bird to the Celtics, the rivalry didn't stop. It just changed arenas. Once again, Bird immediately turned the Celtics around, leading them to a 32-game improvement. He averaged 21 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game, winning Rookie of the Year in a landslide. Sweet revenge against Magic, who finished second in voting. But Magic? He went straight to the NBA Finals. And in Game 6, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out, he started at center and dominated the Sixers, dropping 42 points and 15 rebounds, winning a championship in his rookie year. That was a bitter pill to swallow once again for Larry. So the following year in 1981, Bird came back and won the All-Star Game MVP and an NBA title of his own. But then Magic responded with another Lakers championship in 1982. Bird took home the MVP in 1984 and finally got his revenge in the finals, beating Magic and the Lakers in 7 games, with Celtics fans calling Magic, quote, Tragic Johnson, who turned the ball over in multiple clutch situations and missed free throws to win the game in OT. But that didn't last. Magic bounced back in 1985, took another title, and reclaimed the throne. Sure, Bird won his second MVP that season, but that wasn't enough. So Bird answered with another masterpiece in 1986, a third MVP in a row, leading a 67-win team to an NBA championship again. Back and forth these two go, MVPs, NBA titles, and more crazy highlights than one can count. You couldn't tell one player's story without the other, and that was the beauty about this rivalry. Magic and Bird were each other's biggest victim and bully simultaneously. Depending on the year, they were just one-upping each other and sharpening each other. And fans got the show of a lifetime, and the league exploded in popularity. When they finally shot a Converse commercial together in the late 80s, it marked a turning point in their relationship.
I heard Converse made a pair of Bird shoes for last year's MVP.
Yep.
When they made a pair of Magic shoes for this year's MVP.
Okay, Magic, show me what you got.
The rivalry had become a friendship.
We sat down next to each other. How was your summer? Oh, it's going good. How was yours? It's going great. I said, man, it's a nice spread you got.
He's asked me, is this where you play? I said, yeah, I play here if it's not windy. If it's raining or windy, I go to the gym. But this is where I do all my work. But that's Magic. He makes everybody feel welcome and warm, and he's a con man.
But while Larry and Magic clashed over and over again, sometimes Magic falling short and becoming Bird's victim, or vice versa, the other NBA players in that time frame weren't so lucky. Bird was calling his shots, humiliating NBA stars and setting records all along the way. And the scariest part? Nobody could stop him.
The break in the middle. Bird a runner. Yes.
And he's very erratic, but he can do it when he's hot.
Oh, what a... Feeds it into Bird. Larry through the lane. Hits it.
Especially a young up-and-comer named Michael Jordan. Before Jordan was Jordan, he was just another rookie trying to survive in Larry Bird's NBA. And in 1986, the Chicago Bulls got front row seats to a masterclass. The Bulls, they had no business being in the playoffs that year. They scraped in with 30 wins. But they had him, Michael Jordan. And in Game 2 of the first round against the Boston Celtics, he went nuclear.
Did he? That was the Christmas massacre, but...
Led virtually all the way. Jordan.
Dennis Johnson saying, you can have the baseline. They're hoping that Parrish will be able to get in there.
Dropping an NBA playoff record 63 points in the Boston Garden. Bird's reaction, quote, that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. But here's the thing. The Celtics swept the Bulls. Jordan gave them everything he had. 49 points in Game 1, 63 in Game 2, and it didn't matter. Larry and the Celtics were too much.
Penetration move.
Bird over Woolley. Pick and roll, decides to go strong to the hoop. Bird inside the hoop.
Larry Bird.
Not an easy task. Oakley comes out to me.
Larry averaged 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per game against MJ.
Bird goes for 3.
And through his career, won all 6 of their playoff matchups. Sure, Air Jordan got his too.
Trying to fake Bird, can't do it.
Michael Jordan averaged nearly 40 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in the 6 games versus Larry.
9:44 to go.
So I wouldn't say Jordan got embarrassed.
Bird.
He got educated.
Gene Banks has to roll off, but Bird still has time to get the shot.
And Larry, he was the teacher. Now, this wouldn't be the last time they met. But this was the first and the start of a long pattern. Jordan would go off, and Bird would walk away with the win.
Michael Jordan didn't beat Larry Bird. You showed Michael Jordan going between his legs one time in the highlights, against Larry Bird. And that was the game he got 63.
That's when he dropped 63 on Bird, yes. Yeah,
but if memory serves me correct, they got swept. No, not lost. They got swept. So Michael Jordan in the 80s, right? He never won. And he never beat Larry Bird. He never beat Magic and Kareem.
Now, some rivalries like Magic and Bird, or Bird and Jordan, are built on mutual respect and skill. This next one wasn't one of them. Seriously, Bill Laimbeer wasn't just disliked, he was despised. To Detroit, Laimbeer was known for his physical play, tough defense, and hard work ethic. But around the league, players viewed him as dirty. He clotheslined, elbowed, flopped, and taunted, turning basketball into a brawl.
Barkley gets in the left. Laimbeer will come back with an uppercut.
Even his own teammate, Isaiah Thomas, once said, quote, "If I didn't know Bill, I wouldn't have liked him either." And Larry Bird, he hated him the most.
By Laimbeer, and he pulled Bird to the ground. He slammed him to the ground.
And none also seemed to be the Celtics' chances in Game 5 of a playoff against the...
Quote, "There's nothing about him I respect."
I never really ever liked Laimbeer in any social situation.
No.
Yeah.
And it's because he was a dirty player.
Right.
He had to do what he had to do. I understand that.
The tension between the two first boiled over in 1985 in the Eastern Conference semifinals. In Game 2, Laimbeer delivered a pair of offensive elbows to Bird's face, opening up a cut.
Got it back, so they reset it at 5. Laimbeer walked with it, then committed a foul. Knocked Bird.
He retaliated on the scoreboard. Bird went off for 30 second-half points, torching Laimbeer's Pistons and securing the win. Over the series, Larry dropped 40 points twice and sent Detroit home in 6 games. His teammates should have told him, "Hey, Bill, it's never a great idea to get Larry fired up." But in the 1987 playoffs, the two got into it again. In Game 3, Laimbeer clobbered Bird with this crazy takedown. Now, Bird righteously tried to knock Laimbeer's head off, leading to Larry's only ejection in his entire career. So a few games later, Bird delivered the moment that broke Detroit and Laimbeer's spirit. In Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics were down 1 with just 5 seconds left. Isaiah Thomas just had to inbound the ball and run out the clock. Instead, Bird steals it. Then, in one fluid motion, whips it to Dennis Johnson for the game-winning layup. This play became one of the most iconic moments in NBA history.
Bird picks it off, and then a driving shot by DJ.
And for Laimbeer, it became the final reminder. You don't mess with Larry. Over their careers, Bird didn't just beat Laimbeer, he embarrassed him. Outscoring, out-rebounding, out-assisting, and of course, out-winning Laimbeer. Because some players you go toe-to-toe with, but guys like Bill Laimbeer, you punish them. Now, the next few victims are great examples of Larry Legend and his devastating trash talk. Remember, Larry's trash talk was different. He didn't say things like, "You're trash." Instead, he told opponents what he was going to do before he did it.
I get a charge when I tell someone on the opposing team that I'm going to hit the last second shot and then do it. That's what it's all.
For instance, in 1986, during a tied game with the Supersonics, Larry Bird told Xavier McDaniels, quote, "I'm going to catch the ball right here and shoot it in your face."
I said, "I know, I'm going to be waiting." And he said, "I'm going to get it right here. I'm going to shoot it right in your face."
Now, that's a bold move considering there's only 4 seconds left on the clock, and now one of the league's most athletic defenders knows what you're trying to do. But still, it didn't matter. And as if that wasn't embarrassing enough, Larry Bird said this.
Exact spot and shot a shot right in my face. And he was like, I didn't need to leave 2 seconds on the clock. He wanted to shoot it with 0 seconds on the clock. I walked back to the sideline like, damn.
Imagine that. Larry was upset, not for doing exactly what he said and winning the game, but for doing it too quickly. Bird finished the game with 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Celtics won the game 104-102. Sorry, X-Man.
Damn.
Now, in 1986, Larry really must have been on one, because a few months later, Bird told the media he would play his next game against the Trailblazers with only his left hand.
Larry told all of us and the media, he said, tomorrow night's the last game of the trip. I'm going to play this one left-handed.
Didn't Bird shoot left-handed for an entire game against Portland?
Still down there. Bird. Bird with the left hand and extend. Right here gets down deep with a good position. Little pump fake. Drexler.
He wasn't kidding. Larry made 10 of his 21 field goals left-handed. Most players struggle to score at all in the NBA, let alone only using their offhand to score. To add insult to injury, Bird finished the game with 47 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, including this game winner.
Johnson for Bird. Now that is a shot you can't.
When asked after the game why, he said, quote, "I'm saving my right hand for the Lakers." 2 days later, Larry and the Celtics beat the Lakers by 6 points. Now, if you're a Portland fan, don't feel too bad, because one of the worst victims of Larry's legendary trash talk came in 1985, when he destroyed the Atlanta Hawks and somehow his own teammate.
Remaining in the third. Bird for the bomb. Got it again. A three-pointer. You're seeing the backs in. Posted up Bird. Takes the jumper and hits it. Bird. Bird the follow-away. Tough shot. Here's Bird's follow-away again.
They've called a technical foul. They want him to keep scoring, too.
Bird takes the jumper and hits it again. Bird has 54. Bird, 14 seconds. He got fouled. He hit the shot. They're not going to count it. And Bird falls in. Will try another jumper and hit it at the buzzer. Bird has 60 points.
On March 3rd, 1985, Kevin McHale scored 56 points. His performance broke the Celtics' franchise record for most points in a single game, a record that Larry Bird previously held at 53 points. After the game, Larry told the media that Kevin should have gone for 60 points, almost like he was predicting something. Because just 9 days later, Bird scored 60 points against the Atlanta Hawks. But he did it in the most dramatic fashion. From the start of the game, Larry was hot. He made finger roll layups.
Drive, the floater is good.
Step back jumpers.
And shoots it good.
And slick passes with ease. Per usual, the shooting clinic came with a healthy dose of Larry's trash talk. All night long, Larry told the defenders the exact shot he was going to take before he did it. In 3 quarters, Larry scored 42 points. But in the 4th quarter, Larry truly caught fire.
Bird, foul shot, got it. And they're looking for him. That's a tough shot there.
It seemed like every shot he took went in. Doc Rivers remembers that Larry even called this one, quote, "off the glass and into the trainer," which sent the entire stadium into a craze, including the Hawks bench. The Atlanta Hawks players were so shocked that Larry was actually calling his own shots, they celebrated like they were the ones sitting on the Celtics sideline.
Mike rewound the celebration 20 times. He just kept, not the shot, he just kept rewinding it, showing the guys, you remember, they were giving each other high five.
And then
Bird finished the game with 60 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. That night, Larry reclaimed his own franchise scoring record and literally turned the Hawks bench into his own cheerleading section. It remains one of the greatest shooting exhibitions of all time and a classic Larry legend story. Now, the next 2 stories you might be familiar with because they happened later in Larry's career. The first is when Larry turned the greatest shooters in the NBA into second-place losers. The 1988 All-Star Weekend featured a star-studded lineup. Magic, MJ, Kareem, Bird, Malone, Wilkins. But one of the standout moments came from the Larry Bird Show. The 3-point contest. Before the event, the 2-time defending champ, Larry Bird, walked into the players' locker room and said this: "We all know who's winning this thing, so who's coming in second?"
The man to do it all. He has such great confidence, and I think the biggest advantage he has, Steve, is the fact that he believes he's going to win every time he steps out there.
30 seconds left on the 60-second shot clock.
Yeah, he's got the rhythm going right now.
The 3-point competition, walking in the locker room. Who's playing? Did you really say that? Who's playing for second?
Yeah, I did. I felt so bad.
The entire room was shocked. But Larry wasn't joking.
Target today.
There you see Larry finishing off. Look at that smooth rhythm. The shot.
Now, you'll notice something different about Larry and the rest of the shooters. MJ certainly did.
Machine.
Oh, he ain't took off his top yet. I didn't see when he took off his top.
Truth be told, Larry didn't need to. With the entire arena watching, Larry skated through the early rounds until he found Dale Ellis, a career 40% three-point shooter, in the third round. With the contest on the line and his title at stake, Larry hit three-pointer after three-pointer, and with just a few seconds left on the clock, did this.
We still got to drop one here quickly. 14. This is a tie for the money. Yo!
Larry Bird at the buzzer with the 2-point ball. 17.
Oh yeah, he kept his warm-up jacket on too, just to prove a point. Remember, from afar, Larry Bird didn't look like a killer. He looked like an oversized garbage truck driver. But he was one of the most dangerous players to ever step foot on a basketball court. Why? Because he was always 2 steps ahead of everyone. Always. Larry saw the game like a chess match. At 6'9", he had the size to bang with the big men, but the touch and vision of a point guard. He could shoot from anywhere. He could pass like magic, and if the team needed a rebound, a stop, a clutch basket, he delivered it. It wasn't just this skill set. It was his mind and work ethic too. Larry was a true blue-collar professional. He lived in the gym, working on his jump shot and footwork for hours. Larry once said, quote, "A winner is someone who recognizes his God-given talents, works his tail off to develop them into skills, and uses those skills to accomplish his goals." That was Larry. He didn't waste movement, didn't play for style points. He played to win. And his resume speaks for itself. Sure, he wasn't the fastest. He couldn't jump out of the gym. He didn't have crazy handles, but it didn't matter because Larry played the game from the neck up, and few could ever match him there. Of course, there was one thing he couldn't outthink or out-tough: his own back.
You couldn't think, couldn't move, couldn't run. You know, if you can't feel your feet, it's hard to run.
It all started one summer in the mid-'80s when he hurt it pouring gravel to build his mom a driveway. The injury never fully healed, and year after year, it got worse.
This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel. And that was the beginning of a process.
By the early 90s, he could barely sit through practice without lying flat on the sidelines. But somehow he kept suiting up. And in 1992, when the greatest team in basketball history assembled, Magic begged the injured Larry Bird to make one last run. By 92, Bird's body had betrayed him. He was in constant pain, and years of grueling play and chronic back injury had taken its toll. So as the Dream Team prepared for the Barcelona Olympics, Bird mostly sat on the sidelines and relaxed. That is until one day, Coach Chuck Daly planned a scrimmage against a group of elite college players, including future NBA stars Chris Webber, Jamal Mashburn, and Rodney Rogers. Bird, ever the provocateur, greeted the young squad with a warning.
And he looked at us and he said, "Get some fucking rest. It's going to be a long week," and walked off. And we was like, what the hell?
Now, the young college kids were honestly more starstruck than scared, so they actually started off the game hot.
Like the first 15 minutes, we kicking their ass.
And they actually beat the Dream Team in a scrimmage. Now, Rodney Rogers, perhaps feeling emboldened, said this.
Just said, "Hey, Larry, you ain't hit a jumper since '84.
Big mistake. The next day, Bird methodically scored on Rogers, announcing each move before executing it.
One dribble, pull up, going left, off glass. One dribble, going right, spin, shot, bucket."
After the masterclass, Bird, with his back aching, lay down on the sideline to rest. As he did, he looked at Rogers and said,
"Young fella, look like '84, huh?"
Incredible. Larry Bird didn't just beat you. He made you remember it. Players came in cocky, coaches thought they had a plan, and fans thought he was just another big, slow white guy. They all left the same way, shaking their heads, looking up at the scoreboard, and realized they'd just been taught a lesson. Some players chase greatness. Larry made it look inevitable. Another shot, another win, another victim. If you enjoyed these longer videos, please let me know by subscribing and ticking on the notification bell. I'm working on the victims of Michael Jordan, and it's going to be epic, and I don't want you to miss it. Either way, I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.